Hello and welcome to everybody. This is our support call for this week, and we're talking about quantum biofeedback and how to use your genius, how to get set up and get started and all that good stuff. When you get a biofeedback software, what are you getting? You are receiving the ability to assess a frequency, to quantify a frequency of the energetic field. We're not taking anybody's pulse, we're not taking anybody's blood pressure, we're not actually even looking at the physical body. We're looking at the energy field, and that's what we're assessing. And it's really important as the Genius gets more popular for those of you who are sharing this information with people, is to share that it is energetic information. Now your body, mind, and spirit are connected. So could something that deals with your energy field influence your body? Sure it can. But do we make any claims about this or any guarantees? We just don't do that. Now, another thing to understand is, part of that is when you're looking at these, we are saying that these are in the energy field. So let's explore that a little bit, because why are we talking about minerals in the energy field? So this is how your energy field is looking at the particular issue. Now, it doesn't mean it correlates exactly to the physical issue. But what this tells us is that your frequency in relationship to the frequency of silica, there is an imbalance, there is a discord, there is some level of stress. This could start in the energy field first before it ever reaches the physical body. And at some point, it may result in a physical silica deficiency, or there may already be a silica deficiency. These possibilities should be explored by the person who understands the nutrition or health issues involved. And that is what I've tried to teach in, for example, the Health Mastery Program 1 and Health Mastery Program 2, which are available for download. But really, this is all energetic information. A lot of the proprietary information that the developer has been very, very good at is in assessing the voice. And in the incarnation of the genius, or the evolution of the genius from the infinity, he put more assessment value into that voice assessment piece. So he was able to spend more time, more money to develop the voice assessment piece. That's in a way why the voice is longer. You get 15 seconds of voice recording versus like 7 seconds of voice recording. So there's a depth to the recording of the voice that's very significant. However, this is also a quantum device. This is the hardest thing for newbies to understand. It works in the quantum field. Both assessment and generation of frequencies are carried, or the communication of the program is carried along the along a particular carrier frequency, which is the Schumann resonance. So therefore it can go long distance. Therefore there's a lot more happening here than meets the eye. For example, in quantum biofeedback, everything is an important part of the equation. It's a living assessment. So this answers the question that many people ask, which is, why when I assess someone and I don't even have their picture or their voice, it becomes relevant? The information is still relevant. The information still works. The information still makes sense for them. Because in some ways, none of that is necessary. What is necessary is your intention. And so the best healers in quantum biofeedback are not necessarily the people who have the most knowledge. It can be the people who have the clearest intention. And I often hear from people the first time out, they, lowered someone's blood pressure or their migraine went away. Why are they so good? It is because of their intention. They have a very clear intention to help that person or to help themselves. It's sort of unencumbered or unfettered, and instantly they are getting good results. And yet I hear of people who are extremely knowledgeable, and they'll say, oh, I don't notice a difference. Nothing's happening. And, sometimes when we're, we just get too smart, maybe we just know too much, and that mental knowledge, the mental block, oh, this could never work. Oh, I don't think this could work. I don't think this is legitimate. Where are my studies? Where are my, celebrity testimonials? And they just don't see that. And so perhaps that doesn't create part of their belief or buy-in to the system. So intention is very, very important. There's more going on in quantum biofeedback than meets the eye. When you're testing, when two people are testing, results could be different than when you're being tested by someone else. It is because how they are looking at the situation is actually part of the assessment in quantum biofeedback. So what can we make of this? It doesn't really matter in some regards what the results are. It doesn't even matter what parameters are in red and are in blue. The really important thing is that what is assessed as an imbalance is balanced. So the important thing is to take your items in red and blue and incorporate them into your balancing. Because what is important is what at that moment is found to be out of resonance or not in harmony. But what those particular parameters are can be slightly different when different people are looking, because you are part of the field. We know that that's true because we understand that an electron, can be not in a particular place. It can be sort of in the field, but when the person is looking, then it becomes pinpointed. It becomes laser focused to a particular point. So there are lots of things happening in the field, which means a great deal of magic and miracles are possible through quantum biofeedback. So again, the best way to explain this is that this is energetic information in the quantum field, and many things are possible, yet please don't make any claims about any results that you're getting. We would never tell this person they have a silica deficiency. You have some disharmony with the frequency of silica in your energetic field. And the best thing I can do for you is to put it in my main hold tray and to balance it for 5 to 15 minutes to improve your relationship with that particular frequency, helping you to create harmony in your own energy field. And I can imprint our session, I can imprint some of this energy into water for you and have you take the water for several days after our session is complete. That's really how you want to come out strong and talk about this medicine, this form of helping people in an intelligent way. And that is really, really important as a fundamental. Again, the voice, the reason we do the voice in the picture is to assess a frequency. And it is good to assess that live frequency if you can, through a Skype picture, through a live picture, through a photograph they text to you or email to you. Those are all very important. As live a frequency as you can get. But some people begin to split hairs about, is it a recorded frequency? Is it a digital frequency? Is it an analog frequency? Is it better if it's a live frequency? Part of the answer to this is in your intention when you record the voice. So it's really good to center yourself and to get clarity within yourself and be present in the moment. Because even though technically we could argue about the difference between a digital frequency and an analog frequency, my real assertion to you is that ultimately it doesn't matter in quantum biofeedback. It is not that important. Yes, Ryan made improvements to the voice assessment, which is wonderful, but to some extent, it doesn't matter. You really just want to find out in the moment, where are their imbalances, where's their coherence. That is what is really important, and I believe that's what the program is very, very good at figuring out, at telling us. So what people get most consistently from the Genius, I believe, and I have experienced, is an improved sense of vitality, an improved sense of inner peace, an improved sense of balance, an improved sense of harmony, which then results in positive physiological changes. So I hope that that basis is really important. You know, when you're starting anything, when you're trying to learn something, one of the most important things is the fundamentals, just the very, very basic core philosophy. And if you can get that, then you're really able to build on that more nuanced concepts. Okay, so let's get to some of the basic functions, and we'll get more into this. If you do have questions, feel free to send your questions in. So the very first thing that you do in the program is you run the system overview. That's the first begin analysis that you receive, and you receive results in the areas of the biofield, which is the energetic field. That includes solfeggio tones, meridians, the aura, the Nogier frequencies, spiritual protection, sacred geometry, and the chakras. In the mind, we have things that deal with the mental and emotional. I'm not sure that these categories were ever perfectly delineated, yet this is what we have. So mental and emotional, we've got Bach flower essences. Now, if you do not do anything else, and you only want to do one thing for your day, I would recommend running the Bach flower essences. And if you have a little bit of extra time, I would run the emotions. Emotions and the remedies for emotions, which are the Bach flower remedies, are some of the most powerful things to run. We are emotional beings. Everything that we were having a discord in physically can be tied back to our emotional issues. People are really good intuitive practitioners, right? Can read people, or good testers can tie back particular issues. Your aching foot, your back, right? We know some of the Louise Hay metaphorical reasons. If you've ever read You Can Heal Your Body, there are wonderful explanations which I think are fairly accurate about, at the most core level, why does someone have chronic back pain? They don't feel supported in their life, or they don't feel they can support themselves in their lives. So that's just one example, but there's all types of issues that are tied to your teeth. Actually, you wouldn't think that dental issues could be tied to emotions, yet if you look in Louise Hay's book, she's got very specific explanations about that. It's really a good book to go back to if you haven't looked at it in a long time, and it would be a good adjunct to use in conjunction with your work with the Genius, because when that top emotion comes up, or that bottom emotion comes up, the one that's highest in red or the one that's lowest in blue, you could well, you can't go from the emotion. You could go from the condition, though, to the emotion, and see if the emotions then match what's coming up in Louise Hay's book. So you could become very, very clever in your practice, and very, I think it's helpful when people have those issues reflected back to them if they're open to it. So you could open to the page on dental issues, read the emotions that are related to it or the issue, and then run the emotions and see if some of those emotions are coming up for that person. All right, and then you can include these. Even if you don't know what these particular flower essences are, still include them. They're very powerful. Then you could choose the top number, or red chestnut, or the bottom number, which would be crabapple. Nothing is an accident, nothing is a coincidence. It's very likely that this very low number or this very high number, that these are two very specific, issues for that person. And it's, definitely more than one occasion that I will read a flower essence for someone that comes up, and they'll say to me, gosh, that is one of the main ones that I know comes up for me, or when I get tested, that's the main one that comes up again and again. They get it, or they see it, that there's truth in the theme to it. So I think that biofeedback is also bringing to light a significant awareness for that person. So raising the level of awareness just by naming these things is important. So red chestnut, I don't know if I like these explanations. I'm just going to read this briefly. There's one particular website that I do not like the explanations, and I think it's the Box Center one. But they're all about the same. The red chestnut is for those who find it difficult not to be anxious for other people. Often they have ceased to worry about themselves, but for those of whom they are fond may suffer much, frequently anticipating something unfortunate may happen to them. So that's still not the best explanation. The other one is, or the summary is, for those who find it difficult not to be anxious. This sounds like a mom issue, right? Being anxious for other people. And then I would probably read the lower one, which is the crab apple, for that person. And I often preface it by saying, look, this may not apply to you, but there may be pieces that apply to you, or there might be one word or phrase that really resonates for you. And I tell them, you don't even need to tell me if it does or not. So if it raises something for them, they can, they don't have to feel exposed. Let's see. This crab apple is the remedy of cleansing. And often, for those who feel there's something not quite clean about themselves, often it is something of apparently little importance. In others, it may be a more serious disease, which is almost disregarded compared to the one thing on which they concentrate. In both types, they are anxious to be free from the one particular thing which is the greatest in their minds and which seems so essential to them that it should be cured. Sounds like somebody who's very self-critical in that crab apple, that they're always looking for the thing that's wrong. They're not quite clean of anything. So it sounds very self-critical. But there could be some common themes here, which sounds like it's one of anxiety in both the highest remedy and the lowest remedy. So, that's the other thing is that quantum biofeedback is not literal, you guys. And this is something I've really never talked about before, but the really good practitioners really get this. It is a combination of what you're reading on the screen and your intuition and your focus on that particular object of attention, which is your client. And you're telling a story and you're putting the pieces of the story together. And, so when you're reading this, it's not a literal translation. We're not interpreting lab work here. We're not giving a diagnosis. This is not like a medical practice where, A and then B, do C and then write the prescription that is recommended, this medication for this particular condition. It's so much more of an art form, and it's really tying the things that you see on the screen together. And that can be very intuitive. That can be very, that can be an art that a mother could do. Like anybody could do that who really cares and has intention to do it. Okay, so that's the flower essences. Number one thing in the program, I believe today to run is Bach flower essences, because they are so powerful on the emotional, in the emotional realm. And then also to run the emotions themselves is very powerful as well. So if you put the emotions and the flower essences together, that's really a complete practice. You could be done for the day. Make it very, very simple. Brevity is the soul of wit. Less is more in energetic medicine. in herbal medicine, some of the wisest practitioners learn to give drop dosages. So instead of taking the whole bottle of dandelion root, it's actually taking one drop under the tongue and letting the energy, the plant spirit medicine, the energetic medicine generate the result inside the person. So it takes a different consciousness, doesn't it, to really get that. So here you could include all of these. You could include the top 5 and the bottom 5 because many emotions do come up. So don't be overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, so many things come up. What do I do? How do I include them? It's up to you. You could include the top 1 and the bottom 1, the top 2 and the bottom 2, the top 3 and the bottom 3. You could include all of them. It's really up to you, and you could develop a consistency from it. You know, if there's so many, then I only take the top 3 and the bottom 3, or I work that I'm going to include everything because that feels really important, and then I'm going to allow the program to work things out in progressive insights. Oops. Okay. So, and then, you know, also just observation. You see all of these low numbers. Low numbers are very significant. These are areas, and there's that angst that we were talking about. These are areas of compression. These are areas where no energy is moving, and they've got so many low numbers. Are they just like emotionally constipated? Are they just like so full of unresolved emotions? Now, we don't need to know or resolve it, but, you know, isn't that an interesting observation about your person who maybe has chronic pain? Maybe all of that pain or all of that, you know, maybe it's all of the weight, right? All of the pounds is energetic, stuck emotions. So, you know, and you can, you know, gently maybe suggest that or share that information or share the observation, but you also might want to do more focus on the emotions and only do emotional clearing for that person for the better part of maybe a few weeks or something. And I guarantee that you will see emotional, tremendous transformation for that person. And I know that Di, you're on the call today. You know, Di, if you want to share with us, you're such a great person to work with the emotions. Let us know any significant experience that you've had from working with the emotions. So if you feel that you could share something, a case like that with us, that would be, you know, we really would love to hear about that. Okay, so then what I really like to do is, of course, the progressive insights. So we've got 33 items at the bottom of the tray, the main hold tray, and so now we're just taking emotions and flower essences, and we're going to tap the play button down at the bottom right, and we do have the minerals in there actually. So now we want to see what percolates to the top, because there's always an additional message in that. Out of all of this information, we go through another screening, and we're really trying to say what is the information that now rises to the top, because that could be very significant. And so again, we're evolving the story as we go along. So we've got gentian, magnesium, affection, hatred, mimulus, silica. So now we know some of those things may be very significant, and we can question our client and talk to them about what magnesium does and talk to them about the theme of gentian and get all of that, you know, information in the mix there. So it's a living practice. It's a living experience of the practice. Now, what we did is we started the session. I'm assuming you already know the voice and how to get inside the program and so forth, to record the voice and to record the picture. We went inside to start a session, and we picked up in-system overviews with the we started in the system overview by looking simply at emotions and Bach flower essences. Then we picked our emotions and Bach flower essences, looked at the highest and the lowest sort of in light of the client, and sort of visited with them about it. Was there resonance? Was there not resonance? You could even write down a few significant words for them. Now in this screen, we sort of disregard initially the check marks on the left. If we want to just balance at this juncture and not make it very complex, we can just hit select all, and we can select all of the items in here going all the way down. When we play frequencies, the frequencies will go in a cycle. So we'll play a frequency to improve the relationship between the frequency or energetic field of the person in relationship to gentian, the flower essence. Then we will go through another part of the cycle, and we'll do the same thing for magnesium, then affection, then hatred, then mimulus, and then we'll recycle everything. We'll go through the cycle again for the time duration of 15 minutes. Now, in that cycle, we will spend more time on the frequencies that have been evaluated as being of high priority than we will in the frequencies that have been evaluated as a medium priority. And we will spend even less time down here on these frequencies. Now, some people are finding it valuable to just balance the ones that are high. So I know like Dennis likes to really get great results, feels that he gets a much greater assimilation, rectification as we call it, by running just the high frequencies, the frequencies that come up as high priority. And certainly that is something that is worthy of consideration. Remember, in the last couple of updates, we've added a countdown meter, which I find to be really, really helpful. So thanks to Ryan, the developer, for doing that. That was fantastic. So you can go ahead and you could balance just the items that are high and see if you get better results. So that, I'm not going to talk about the functional zones, but just for beginners, you don't need to balance anything or do anything on the left side unless you want to, and that's the functional zones, which I'll talk about either a little bit later or in another session. What I actually want to talk about now is something I've gotten questions about over the past week sort of repeatedly, and that is confusion about the aura panel. So the aura panel, the best way to use the aura panel, in my opinion, is the way that I'm going to demonstrate right now. So what we have to do is we have to go into the biofield. It doesn't matter if the aura comes up low or high. You can balance it in any event. And it can become like a visual monitor for people to see how they are taking in the frequencies. For those of you who were Infinity users, it's basically the same setup here. So when we go into the aura, we just tap on the aura, we receive a screen that shows a person, and then the colors will be around the person. I got a call the other day from somebody very panicked who kept telling me they're black, they're black, they're all black. And I just was so confused why their aura would be black, but they were looking at this. This is not where we look. We look around the person. So you get the items. You want to put items in the main hold tray before you go up to this, because you want to observe how the frequency balancing is affecting the aura as you're doing the balancing. Now, even though I said I won't talk about technical glitches, I'm pretty convinced there's a glitch here, because you can keep pressing begin analysis even if you have not run any frequencies. So it's a minor one, but let's hit begin analysis. So this is our initial look at what's going on with the person. Okay, so what we're looking at is the person is facing us. So what they're pulling in is going to come in through this side. They're pulling it into their left side and then assimilating the information, and they're pushing stuff out through the through the right side. So they're pulling in green healing energy, and they may be pushing out some gobbledygook and so forth. Over time, we would like to see sort of an evening out of lighter and brighter colors on both sides of the auric field. But it's hard to say because they're still continuing to peel the layer. So you may never see a perfect aura, but you can tell them how it is changing. Now this should not appear here, but because you shouldn't have the ability to do this. But anyway, let's just go ahead and hit the 1 minute mark here, and then we're going to test after the 1 minute mark. So again, you want to collect items into the tray, which does suggest that there's no progressive insights analysis for this purpose, and that is correct. We're simply balancing all items equally in the main hold tray for the purpose of the aura. Now, should progressive insights somehow be integrated with the aura? Probably, but I don't think that's even in the works. So if it's something that you observe that you want to see, by all means, you could recommend it. At this point, it is just simply balancing what is in the tray. So we're going to wait and just visit here a little bit about the aura. I believe that Ryan is currently integrating all the meaning of the particular aura colors into what will become sort of the accessible glossary from the program itself, similar to how it was in the Infinity. But you can just look online, and there are tons of explanation online about the different meaning of colors in the aura until we get that sort of set up. So again, now we want to hit begin analysis. And we'll get one more analysis again, things that are being pulled into the energy field on the left and things that are being pushed out of the energy field on the right. Now this is very, very common, and I'm glad that this did come up this way. You'll usually see when you're doing a session, things move from a more earthly color, you know, more reds, oranges, yellow, to colors that are green, dark green, emerald green, blues, purples, and pinks. So that's really the best use of your aura, is to, and you can take screenshots of it and send it to the person, you can show them. So that's really the best purpose. I think at some point, sort of a where you could see the aura sort of changing up in the right-hand corner while you're running other frequencies or while you're running progressive insights, sort of using the little aura screen as a mini screen to see how things are changing and shifting at different parts of the program would be a good addition. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop this for the moment here, and let's now return to the system overview. So one recipe for balancing is to just do, like, you could jot this down, because a lot of people get into the Genius and they're like, well, what should I do? I don't know what to balance. I don't know how many times to balance it. I don't know for how long. So one little balancing recipe, right? A little, because we're going to talk about more recipes in the in-person training happening in June 17th and 18th. You can still register for the training in June in Portland at the Naturopathic College in Portland. I am teaching the training on the 17th and 18th. You can still register for it. People have been registering for it pretty steadily. The spots are filling up. Few spots are available. If you want to register, I will provide the link in my follow-up email today to our training. One of the easiest recipes to do is to balance the emotions and the Bach flower essences. Another strategy is to balance the meridians. Let's actually go to the main hold tray. Let's clear everything out and start fresh here. So the meridians on their own are fabulous to balance. So you could balance just the meridians, and as you can see, it's really great. Ryan has been hard at work incorporating these past meanings of the meridians from that we saw in the Infinity. So when you see these, they give you a hint about the particular meridians that came up at the highest end. Now there may be ones that are at the low end, and those are not considered, so you have to go look them up or just look at them. Those include spleen, small intestine, and stomach. Spleen, small intestine, and stomach. The spleen is about worry and anxiety about the future. Now, did you get the consistency there? Do you remember when we looked at red chestnut? Red chestnut was about an angst, about an anxiety, about cleaning or getting stuff or being perfect or something like that. And then the crab apple was worrying about someone else, right? Worrying about a child or that something bad is going to happen, etc. And so now we see the spleen, worry about anxiety, worry about the future. Spleen is also about spleen chi imbalance is very, very common in the Western world. Sitting and cogitating too much mental activity can lead to a spleen chi deficiency. So too much cold and damp weather can lead to a spleen chi deficiency. Therefore, now we start to evolve the story, want to put the pieces together. So I give you the permission. I christen you with the full permission to use your intuition and to start to put the story together as you see it, even though it's not written in a book telling you exactly how to do it, to start to pull the pieces together. So we've got small intestine and stomach. What else does that tell us? There's probably a digestive imbalance because we've got spleen, small intestine, stomach. They're all in Chinese medicine associated with the digestive system. Small intestine, insecurity and sadness, sort of goes back to that related theme. Stomach, disgust and greed. Now these aren't necessarily, we don't want to pin all of those emotions on that person, but we just would say, you know, in Chinese medicine, some of these are associated with that particular meridian imbalance. It may apply to you, it may not apply to you. The times that are indicated are the times that the meridian is most active, and it's times when the meridian is out of balance that the person may consider may get what we call an aggravation. So their symptoms may be more present during those times. One thing that we learned in naturopathic college, so in my naturopathic college, it's a clinical college, we see patients, it's in Portland, that's where the training's going to be, although it's not affiliated with the college at all. In naturopathic college, we have lots of training in natural therapeutics. We have training in herbal medicine, we have training in homeopathy, we have training in supplements, all of the nutritionals, you know, vitamins, minerals, and so forth. And we have extensive training in classical homeopathy, classes and classes and remedies. And I think one of the most fascinating things about learning homeopathy is learning the essence of a full constitutional homeopathic assessment. And we're always asking for temporality, which is, when is your symptom the worst? In fact, it's so, has become so ingrained in my assessment that I don't even remember to bring it back to homeopathy anymore. So the example is, when you're asking a person how they, what is going on with them, is there a temporality to their issue or to their symptoms? In other words, how do you feel in the morning when you wake up? Is there a time when your pain is the worst? Is it possible that it's the same time every day? And you'll be amazed, right? People will feel terrible until 11 o'clock and then they finally feel good. Or they always have their back pain at about the same time when the sun is setting, they don't feel good. You know, all of those are indications for different homeopathic medicines like Natrum muriaticum, but they're also related to the meridian. So when people have aggravations at different times, it is indicative or representative of the imbalances of the particular meridians. So for example, when they have an aggravation at 3 in the morning, it may be related to the gallbladder or liver meridian. I have to look up the meridians clock. So these are things, that's why those time periods occur there. And you could ask them, you know, is there a time of day that you feel the worst? Or what is the time of day you feel the best? That type of thing. You know, so that's what the time of day is all about. Now, just a nuanced explanation is that that algorithm that brings up the top 3 meridians only takes into account the top 3 numbers. Now, I've told Ryan about this at different junctures, not going to change, that's fine. What you want to do is you want to manually go down and see if there are any lower numbers. Here we really don't have any deficiency. You're going to have to go down to the lower numbers and look at them yourself and then say, okay, these meridians are significant as well. We really don't even have any meridians that are lighting up as red, but if we did, we could choose the top 3 meridians, and then we could go to the top meridian and then also include the points within that meridian. Okay, and then this gives us an information about sort of the sum assessment. This is sort of a summary of all the points that are showing up at high, and the average of all of the spleen 18, spleen 11, spleen 16, and spleen 20 is that it may be related to pain in the chest, inguinal region pain, and abdominal pain. However, I always say you may have none of these things. These are only things that may occur generally within the meridian. You may have none of them. Then what you can do for part of your meridian balancing is you can include all of the items in that particular meridian that come up in red or in blue. And I sort of will do borderline ones as well. And if you had a low meridian, you could also include, say, the lowest meridian. So you would include the lowest meridian in your tray as well as the points. So the points are allowing us to have a level of specificity. The more specific you're able to pinpoint your balancing, the more you're able to pinpoint the specific imbalances, the better that you're able to be successful in your balancing. So I've given you 2 different recipes today, 2 different balancing strategies to just balance the emotions and the Bach flower essences, and to then just balance all the meridians, right, the ones that are high or low, and then 2 meridians go in and discover the points that are high and low and include those. And then that's it. That's your entire balancing. Why would I be so bold as to just do a balancing of the meridians? Because the meridians embody body, mind, and spirit. They're the energetic, they are the magical energetic entry points or access points to your whole system. So therefore, you can see all the ones that came up high. It's interesting, we just have highs and lows there. And so this in and of itself could be a complete system, and you could look up the meridians, discover more about the meridians, but this in and of itself could be a balancing all unto itself. Now, that's something that's really important about biofeedback is it doesn't need to be rocket science. We're really, the technology is in accessing the universal mind, which has all the answers. When we're asking the ego mind, yes, intellect is really, really great, but even as the smartest naturopath, you often will find yourself, not implying I'm the smartest, but even as the most informed or an informed naturopath, you can often find yourself at the desk going, God, is this the root cause? But it could be this. Is this the root cause? And that's why biofeedback is so important and so instrumental, because able to access the universal mind, which is all-knowing, and just say, you know what, present me with the answer. And then my role will be this facilitative role, where perhaps I can explain the information or just be helpful in my coordination of how I run the frequencies. But it's not rocket science. It's pretty easy. It's a pretty sort of humble practice, because you're deferring to the universal mind and then taking that information and then utilizing it in a clever way. So there's no shame in just running the reds and the blues. That's important. Or just doing the meridian and just running the meridian. It's still very, very powerful to do so, and you will get great results. So you don't need an extensive naturopathic education. You don't need tons of health information. Again, it's going to add to the field. it enriches the field, and then it makes you a better practitioner. Perhaps you're getting results faster, but it doesn't negate from your ability to get results, to just run the reds and the blues, or just run the emotions, or just run the emotions and the Bach flower remedies, or combination of two things that you find to be very important. Okay, so again, so just getting into the basics of what biofeedback is. How do you set up a session? How do you know what to do? So we talked about just doing the emotions and doing the Bach flower essences, and we talked about doing just the meridians. So all of those things are fantastic to do. You could also do one from each group. In every session, you could decide to do something from mind, something from body, and something from biofield. So that's another way to work. And if you're going to do it that way, you can pretty much always count on your body systems to be helpful, right? To get sort of an overall view. So you could do just the body systems from the body, and you make observations that always seem to be very significant for people. They'll tell you, oh yes, digestive system, or oh yes, immune system. All of those things make sense. I should have cleared this out first. So let's clear it, and let's re-include those. Okay, try this again. It's not cooperating with me. Immune system, okay, and just the lymphatic system, just the reproductive system, things are in red and blue. And then you could choose something from the mind and something from the body, and you could do it that way. Now, as far as the functional zones, let's go to that. It's a question. This is a frequent question from people, so let's get to it in the last 9 minutes here. Really not my favorite design feature to just plunk these down with blank boxes on the left side and just functional zones. Not one person who uses this for the first time knows what to do and is significantly confused by it. That said, grateful you're here so we can clarify for you. These are functional zones. What functional zones do is they give you additional hints about what the root cause of the particular issue is. For the purpose of energetic balancing, what functional zones do is they add some very rich frequencies to your balancing, because each functional zone is made up of digitally imprinted homeopathic medicines which embody that particular theme. So for example, if we go to lymphatic, we want to know what's the cause of the lymphatic imbalance. We could now go, I guess, yeah, let's do that. Let's go to, we tap now on the box itself, we check the box, and we go to functional zone considerations. I have a blog post on functional zone considerations, which I will include in my follow-up email to today's call. So be sure to open that email and read about the functional zones in that blog post. Within the immune zone are many homeopathic remedies which support the immune system, which have been digitally imprinted into the functional zone program. When you select the immune zone, you then include those homeopathic remedies into your balancing session, making your results more powerful. When you tap on immune zone, you then get 2 additional hints about why the immune zone is out of balance. To this date, unfortunately, I've had no definition from Ryan about what these particular things mean. However, some of them are self-explanatory. Organ change stress evaluation. I'm going to assume that the organ has changed in some significant or perhaps less than significant way. Non-autoimmune allergy stress evaluation. So this is an allergy not relating to autoimmunity. There's something going on perhaps in the environment. perhaps mold, perhaps pollen, perhaps springtime. And again, these hold homeopathic remedies, many of them that have been digitally imprinted to each of these frequencies. So our calling, or our best thing that we can do, is to include these two frequencies now in our balancing recipe. We then hit the back button twice. We go back here and we're now prompted to reshuffle everything and to reanalyze everything so that we get the now new priorities, of which you will almost always see one of the functional zone frequencies come up now high in your progressive insights, showing that it is relevant and important and valuable in your balancing. Now, last point on this is that you can also choose all of them. You could select all of the high remedies and actually do a functional zone drill down of all of the remedies together. So it is a very cool part of the program, just not a very well designed part of the program, but that's my personal opinion. You might think it's fabulously designed. So we've got biochemical zone, so we can include that if we wanted to. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, perfect. So then we go biochemical zone. We'll get 2 additional hints on this one. And then we'll include those. So from biochemical zone, dealing with the chemistry of the body, dealing with the different nutritional aspects of the body, we've got perhaps a fatty acid deficiency and some type of incoherent relationship with some vitamins, so we include that. And then we hit the back button twice. We now reanalyze, see if any of those come up as high priority. So there's the vitamin stress evaluation, and that's it. So then we could balance these items. Again, it's just energetic balancing. We don't always have to bend ourselves into the shape of complicated pretzels to think, well, my gosh, which vitamin is actually causing the stress? It could be, just running that frequency can clear it. Everything in biofeedback, instead of becoming like you have to buy 10 bottles of supplements, really becomes just a matter of adjusting a frequency, which I think we're going to discover that's really where all the true healing really is, in adjusting your frequency, using your intention eventually effortlessly to adjust your frequency, but frequency medicine plays that intermediary role in the meantime. Okay, so we've just got 4 minutes left, and I just want to say something here about the frequencies themselves. So when you go to the upper right of your navigation, which is your navigation bar, and you go down to frequency, shape, and form, there are 3 different waveforms. There's the sine, square, and sawtooth. And I do talk about this in my Genius training program. Again, I'll follow up with the link. You can get that training for $97. Includes all the videos that you need to understand the Genius in a very easy 5 to 15-minute videos. But in that training program, myself and Susan Covington, we went through the different types of waveforms. So to summarize those in the last 3 minutes here, you can select a sine wave. A sine wave is great when you're working on physical issues, when you want to create coherence, when you want to create healing in the, the energetic area, which will affect the biology. When you think about a sine wave, think about when you see a classic TV show or movie and you're in the hospital and you see that little waveform going across their heart rate or whatever it might be, right? That little blip on the screen, a sine wave. Your biological functions tend to generate sine waves. So when you want to create coherence, then sine wave. Square is something that's really good when you're working on parasites, infections, Lyme disease, bacteria, viruses. And when you use a Rife machine, it will generate usually a square wave, a square form of the wave. Sawtooth, really good. You can go in and be very cool and nuanced when you're running your emotional frequencies, when you're doing that recipe protocol for emotions and for Bach flower remedies together, you could pre-select this sawtooth wave, because what the sawtooth wave does, even if you listen to something being generated in the sawtooth, or if you look at a sawtooth pattern, it has that sort of big crescendo up and then it drops off. It's really good for breaking up stuck patterns. It has that sort of just energy to it of sort of breaking up rigidity or stuckness, or where there's no energy moving. And if you just kind of like, gosh, I think I need all of them, you can just do alternating, and as you're generating your frequency, it will switch from, so as it's going through its balancing, if you have it set for 15 minutes, it's going through all the different frequencies you've selected, but it's also then going sine, square, sawtooth, sine, square, sawtooth. So whether you want to alternate it or be very specific is truly up to you, and your body and energy field knows what to pick up, knows what to respond to, so it's not going to make or break a session. These are some fun things that you get to play with, and you could see if you get better results when you adjust in these particular areas. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Remember, this is a basics class. I will be having more sophisticated advanced classes coming up, and you can join me in Portland on June 17th and 18th. Please sign up as soon as you can, because the class will sell out, and we do want you there. That is going to be a comprehensive training where we're going to be imprinting remedies, we're going to be imprinting gemstones, I'm going to be showing you how to start a side hustle if you want to, and we're going to be getting into the nitty and the gritty, talking about all those things you asked me questions about, infections and Lyme disease and all the things you want to work on. And you're going to get to do sessions on other people live and in person. I'll be helping you in the class. So I hope you can join me June 17th and 18th in Portland. I'm already putting the manuals and all the materials together. It's going to be a great class. And I want to thank you so much for joining me for today's support call, and sending you much love and many blessings of prosperity, abundance, and health for your week. Have a wonderful day today, and I'll see you next week. Take care and be well. Bye-bye for now.